What the history?
You might have heard this folksy tale in grade school science class. It goes something like this. Back in the 17th century, a young Isaac Newton was sitting under an apple tree one evening when all of a sudden a piece of its fruit fell from a branch and bonked him on the head. Supposedly, this prompted an epiphany in Newton that would lead him to formulate his theories on gravitation and motion. And that story you heard in school was pretty much accurate. But what's not mentioned regarding the scientific studies of Isaac Newton, though probably should be, is that besides the title of groundbreaking physicist, inventor of calculus, or overall poor judge of places to sit, Isaac Newton had a hidden, more secretive side to him. Specifically, Newton studied the pseudoscience which attempted to chemically alter common metals into gold. Yes, Isaac Newton was an alchemist. But why didn't we hear more about this before? Well, for a couple reasons. First, it wasn't really until the 1990s when an Indiana University professor, William R. Newman, discovered the bulk of Newton's alchemical writings and, quote, recipes, which primarily sought after the creation of a mystical element that alchemists referred to as the Philosopher's Stone. This stone would supposedly be the catalyst that made the final transformation of a commonly found metal like mercury into a chemically true gold. In fact, Newton was eventually estimated to have written close to 1 million words on the subject of alchemy. But most of his writings were thought lost in a laboratory fire. We also don't know much about Newton's alchemy practices because it was banned in his native England due to cheats and swindlers promising wealthy clients results they couldn't deliver on. Plus, English royalty was suspect of the pseudoscience because if it were somehow achievable, alchemy would create a severe devaluation of their own royal gold reserves, and in turn, the general population could have better economic opportunity. And we wouldn't want that in the 18th century British Empire, would we? So Isaac kept most of his alchemic studies secretive, but he also had other theories that were considered heretical and, generously put, unconventional. One controversial practice he employed as an unorthodox Christian was using biblical text to calculate that the world could not possibly end before the year 2060. But he claimed he did this for noble reasons, annoyed at other doomsayers of the time promising a coming apocalypse that, well, never came. Newton wrote of his prediction, "This I mention not to assert when the time of the end shall be, but to put a stop to the rash conjectures of fanciful men who are frequently predicting the time of the end, and by doing so bring the sacred prophecies into discredit as often as their predictions fail." So, to recap, Isaac Newton, in order to prove a point against those predicting Armageddon, declared that he himself discovered the earliest year this would all take place. Got it? Newton also had thoughts about the lost city of Atlantis. In his 87,000-word essay, The Chronology of Ancient Kingdoms Amended, Newton used Greek myths to posit where precisely Atlantis and other famed lost kingdoms were located geographically. It's telling that this essay was also published posthumously in 1728, the year after Newton's death. He literally didn't want to be caught alive with this document. So I guess we'll have to take the good of Newton, the discoveries of gravity, motion, calculus, and the white light spectrum, with the bad and frankly kind of kooky. But one interesting thing that stands out in regards to his alchemist days is that at the time, the term alchemy had not yet been invented. Instead, the term for the process of transforming everyday metals into gold was known by a different name, chemistry, which would soon become known as a truly important and very legitimate science we have today.
What the history?